I'm 75 years old, and I'm going to tell you something that most people my age will never hear in time to use it. Here in this country, study after study finds that the majority of older Americans who qualify for tax breaks, exemptions, and discounts built specifically for them never claim a single one. Billions of dollars sit on the table every year, money that was set aside for people exactly like you and me. And it just stays there, unclaimed, because nobody ever sat us down and explained it in plain words. I was one of those people, for years. So here's the part nobody tells you. After you turn 65, there are bills you are no longer required to pay the way you've always paid them. Some you're flat out exempt from, some you only owe a fraction of, and some you never had to pay in full to begin with. And in 2026, the rules changed again, in your favor for once, and almost nobody noticed. I'm not here to scare you. I'm here because I wish somebody had said this to me when I was 65, instead of letting me overpay for nearly a decade. So I'm going to give you 7 of them. 7 bills that seniors over 65 can stop paying or stop overpaying in 2026, one by one. Plain and simple, the kind of list I would have killed to have. I'm not asking you to subscribe to anything. I'm just asking you to stay with me right here to the end of this. Sit down, pour yourself something warm, and let an old woman who learned this the hard way save you the trouble. Because some of these, I promise you, you are still paying for right now. And you don't have to be. Let me start at the beginning. My name is Margaret. I spent 40 years of my life working from 25 to 65 in an office tower in Columbus, Ohio. I was the woman who got there before the lights came on and left after they went off. I told myself it was discipline. I told myself the sacrifice would buy me a beautiful, easy retirement. One more promotion, one more year, one more deposit into the nest egg. I retired at 65, and you know what I did? I kept deferring. The trips I'd take next year, the phone calls I'd make when things settled down. I had spent 4 decades learning how to defer my own life, and I was very, very good at it. Then I turned 71, and I lost a friend I'd known since I was a girl, gone in a single afternoon, no warning. Dorothy. We met in the 3rd grade. I sat at her service holding the little paper program in my hands, smelling the lilies somebody had crowded around the front, and something just cracked open in me. All that money I'd saved so carefully, and all that time I'd thrown away waiting for permission to live. I drove home that day, and I sat at my kitchen table, the same table where I used to do my taxes, and for the first time in my life, I really looked at where my money was going. Not the saving, the spending, the bills. That's when I finally started paying attention to my own affairs, really paying attention. And what I found made me furious, at myself mostly, because I'd been handing money over year after year that I never owed. Not a fortune in any single month, but a slow, steady leak in a dozen directions at once for almost a decade. So the first one, the brand new one for 2026. If you're 65 or older, the government just handed you an extra tax deduction worth up to $6,000 per person. It came out of the big tax bill they passed, and it runs for several years through 2028. That's on top of the regular deduction you already get. For a married couple where both of you are past 65, that's potentially $12,000 of income the taxman simply stops counting. Now, I have to be honest with you, the way I wish people had been honest with me. It phases out if your income is high, somewhere north of $75,000 for a single person, around $150,000 for a couple. So if you're comfortable, you may get less of it, or none. But for most ordinary retirees living on Social Security and a modest pension, this is real money sitting right there, and most folks have no idea it exists. Ask whoever does your taxes about the new senior deduction. Say those words to them. And here's the thing, almost nobody is. They're going to file the same way they filed last year and leave it on the table. The second one is older, but it's just as forgotten. There has always been an extra standard deduction just for being 65 or older. It's separate from the new one I just mentioned. We're talking roughly $2,000 more for a single person, a bit less per spouse for a married couple. It stacks right on top. I used to itemize everything, every receipt, every little deduction, hunched over the kitchen table in March with a shoebox of paper and a cup of coffee going cold beside me. I thought that was being responsible. I thought all that suffering meant I was doing it right. And for years, the plain standard deduction, plus my senior bump on top of it, would have given me more with none of the headache. I was working harder to keep less. I was performing the discipline of a younger woman and paying for the privilege. Don't be me. If you take nothing else from this whole conversation, take that. That's 2. Stay with me, because the next ones are where the real overpaying happens. The third bill is one I paid for no reason at all. State tax on my Social Security. Here's what nobody explains. A great many states in this country do not tax Social Security benefits at all. If you live in one of them, that income is effectively exempt at the state level. And yet, I have watched friends keep money withheld year after year out of pure habit, handing their state a cut of a check the state never asked for. Now, I have to be careful here, and you should be too. This one depends entirely on where you live. Some states tax it, some don't, and a few are right in the middle. So I can't tell you your answer from here. What I can tell you is to actually look it up for your own state, or ask your preparer the simple question, does my state tax my Social Security? If the answer is no, make sure you're not having anything withheld for it. That's your money. Bring it home. The fourth one is the big one, the one I'm almost embarrassed about. Property taxes. Almost every state and county in this country offers some kind of senior break on property taxes. They call them different things. They are homestead exemption, a senior freeze, a property tax deferral. The idea is the same. Once you hit a certain age, often 65, your home's taxable value gets reduced, or your tax bill gets frozen so it can't keep climbing, or you can put it off entirely. And the number of eligible seniors who never apply for it is heartbreaking. Most never do, because nobody mails you a letter. You have to go ask. I paid the full freight on my little house for years after I qualified. Years. The morning I finally drove down to the county office and asked the woman at the counter, she looked at my date of birth, looked back up at me and said, "Honey, you could have done this a long time ago." I sat in my car in that parking lot and I just laughed, because if I hadn't laughed, I'd have cried. So please, call your county assessor's office. Just call and ask, what property tax relief do you offer for seniors, and do I qualify? It varies by county, so you have to ask about yours specifically. But that one phone call could be worth hundreds, even thousands, every single year for the rest of your life in that home. That's 4. Let me catch my breath, because the next 3 are about the bills that come every single month, the ones that quietly drain you. The 5th one is Medicare, specifically your hospital coverage, Part A. For most people who worked and paid in for at least 10 years, Part A is premium-free. You already paid for it out of every paycheck for 40 years, the way I did. You do not pay a monthly premium for it now. And yet I've talked to people in their 70s, frightened, convinced they owe some big monthly hospital bill they can't afford. For most of us who put in our time, that premium is 0. And there's more, and this part matters if money is tight. There are programs, they call them Medicare savings programs, that, if your income is limited, will actually pay your Part B premium for you, the part that normally comes straight out of your Social Security check every month. People who qualify go years without ever signing up, paying a premium the program would have covered. If your income is modest, call your state's Medicaid or aging office and ask about the Medicare savings programs. Say it just like that. The 6th bill is the one hiding in plain sight every month. Your phone, your internet, your utilities. There's a federal program, it's called Lifeline, that gives a monthly discount on phone or internet service to people with limited income. And on top of that, a lot of states and a lot of power and gas and water companies have their own discount programs for low-income seniors. A reduced rate, a break in the winter months when the furnace runs all day and the bill comes in like a slap. Protection from getting shut off when money's thin. I remember one February, before I knew any of this, sitting in my coat at my own kitchen table because I'd turned the heat down to save on the gas bill, while the gas company had a senior program sitting right there the whole time that I could have signed up for in 10 minutes. I just never asked. It never occurred to me that asking was allowed. I paid full price on every one of those bills for years, never once thinking to ask if there was a senior rate. There almost always is. You just have to call the company and say the words. Do you have a discount program for seniors or for limited income? The worst they can say is no. And more often than you'd think, they say yes. Now, the 7th one. And this one's really 2 small ones I'm folding together because they're both about fees, the little ones that nibble you to death. First, your bank. So many banks waive their monthly maintenance fees, their paper statement fees, even some ATM fees, the moment you open what they call a senior checking account. Same bank, same money, no fee, just because of your age. I paid a $12 monthly service charge for years that vanished the day I asked them to switch me over. $12 a month doesn't sound like much. Add it up over a decade and tell me it doesn't sting. And second, your retirement money and your taxes. If you have a Roth account, those required minimum withdrawals everyone dreads, they don't apply to a Roth the way they do to a regular account. And when it comes time to file, You do not have to pay somebody $200 or $300 to do a simple return. There are free programs run for older Americans. They go by names like Tax Counseling for the Elderly and the Volunteer Income Tax Assistance Program. Trained volunteers, no charge. I paid a preparer for years to do a return I could have had done for free by people who specialize in folks our age. So there it is, 7 of them. The new senior deduction, the extra standard deduction, state tax on your Social Security, your property taxes, your Medicare premiums, your phone, internet, and utilities, and your bank and filing fees. Now let me tell you what I really want you to walk away with, because it's bigger than any one of these. Every single thing I just listed, I overpaid at some point. Not because I was foolish, because I was busy and proud, and I assumed that if I owed less, somebody would tell me. Nobody tells you. The bill doesn't come stamped, "You don't have to pay this anymore." It just keeps coming, the same as always, and it's on you to know better. And I didn't know better until I was past 70. That's the part that aches. All those years I spent building a nest egg, and I never thought to plug the holes it was leaking out of the whole time. Here's the thing I understand now that I didn't at 65. It is not too late. It was never too late. The day I drove to that county office, I was 71. The day I switched my bank account, I was past 72. Every dollar I stopped overpaying from that point on was a dollar I got to keep and use and enjoy in the years I actually have left. That's the real lesson, not the 7 items. The items will change. The law changes. The numbers change. The programs get new names. What doesn't change is this. The system will not come looking for you to hand you what you're owed. You have to go ask. You have to make the calls. You have to say the plain words out loud. Do I qualify? Is there a senior rate? What relief do you offer? And then sit through the hold music until somebody answers. I spent 40 years afraid I wouldn't have enough. I scrimped and I deferred, and I worried myself sick over the size of the number in the account. And it turns out a good piece of enough was just learning to stop giving away what was already mine. Not earning more, not saving harder, just plugging the leaks I never knew were there. You know what the cruelest part is? None of it is hidden on purpose. There's no conspiracy. It's just that nobody whose job it is to collect a bill has any reason to tell you that you've stopped owing it. The phone company won't call to offer you the senior rate. The county won't mail you the exemption. The system runs on the quiet assumption that you'll keep paying out of habit, and most of us do, right up until somebody like me finally says it out loud. So this week, not someday, not next year, this week, pick one, just one off this list. Make the one phone call, ask the one question, and then next week, make another. I can't sit at your kitchen table and make those calls with you. I wish I could. But I can tell you, woman to woman, person to person, from 75 years of getting it wrong before I got it right, the money you're owed is real. The rules in 2026 are finally on your side. And the only thing standing between you and it is a question you haven't asked yet. Go ask it. while you've got the time to enjoy what comes back. And thank you for sitting here with me. It means more than you know.